This is a one-axis robotic exoskeleton prototype that I developed to address a real-world mobility problem. And the initial use case actually came from my mother, who has a long-term quadriceps paralysis affecting her left knee. So as she aged, standing, sitting down, and avoiding falls became more challenging for her. With this setup, I'm aiming to help people perform the movements that they are not able to do so without such a help. And this is a very lightweight BLDC motor with a CAN bus communication, and I'm communicating it via an ESP32 microprocessor. This is a basic setup that I 3D printed and mounted. There is an arm connected to the shaft of the motor, and we have a simple user interface with 5 buttons, which are helping us to switch between modes, such as standing, walking, climbing up and down the stairs, etc. And we have 2 information sources to make sure that we are doing the right move and that we are able to switch between modes. One information source is the motor itself, the angle of the shaft, and the other information source is the IMU sensor, which is going to be connected to the upper body of the user. And this will help us to detect the posture of the user, and this will help us detect the angle of the knee. So let me show you how it works. Okay, this section of the robotic exoskeleton is going to be connected to the lower leg of the user, and this part down, the motor as well, is going to be holding the thigh section of the leg. And when we start, the user will be sitting, I'm assuming that, and we check this by the angle coming from the motor itself and the IMU angle. So we confirm at the beginning that we are in this sitting posture. Okay, let's start with getting up. So we press on this button, which is the standing up button, twice to initiate. Oops, it doesn't start because it detected that the IMU angle is not right, so I turned it like this. Okay, now let's press on this button twice, then the motor applies torque, gets us in the standing up mode, and this is like the hub mode that we can get into the rest of the modes. So we can continue with the walking mode. So we do that by, let me correct the IMU first because this is the standing up position. So to get into the walking mode, I press on this button twice. Now we're in the walking mode. This IMU is going to be connected to the thigh section of the leg. So to walk, you normally bend your knee like this, and then you step, and after some time, then the lower leg, after you take the first step, the lower leg makes a movement like this in a normal walking stance. So this acts like a trigger that helps the lower leg section to do this motion. I'm using it as a trigger to do this. So each time you step forward, the lower leg section helps you walk naturally. So this is the walking phase, and let's continue with for instance, I don't know, climbing stairs. So we get into the standing mode again, and to climb the stairs we click on the button twice to get into that phase. And in that phase, so what we do is, normally to climb the stairs, what do? You lift your leg. Once you lift your leg, the thigh section of your leg makes an angle with respect to the ground, and the lower leg section is perpendicular to the ground. So in this mode we follow the IMU, IMU's lead to decide what the lower section of the leg is gonna be. So once you step on the first step, then the user presses the button again, and the leg helps him to climb one step forward, and then the user repeats this step. So he presses on the button again, which takes the device into the step climbing mode, and the same thing repeats itself. So this is the stair climbing mode. In climbing down the stairs mode, let's get into that. The user clicks on the button twice, and then in this mode, actuator acts like a damper to softly help the user to step one below, and then once the thigh section makes an angle, the leg just comes next to the other one smoothly, and then the user of course repeats this step. Climb down, the actuator damps the movement, so the user just steps down one step, and once the user takes his leg next to the other one, makes an angle with respect to the ground, and then the leg just comes next to the other one. Now we are in the standing mode. Now let's get into the sitting mode by pressing this button twice. In the sitting mode, of course, we start the sitting mode in an upright position. So we step on this twice to get into that mode. And all the actuator does in this mode is to dampen the movement to help the user sit smoothly. Once the knee bends 90 degrees, then the motor is left free. So that sums up all the modes that I designed for this device. Hope it's gonna be useful. So the next step will be designing an appropriate mechanism that will hold the leg from each section. That is the thigh and the lower leg section, which will also allow the user to wear the device comfortably, and hopefully it will help the user to easily do daily actions. Thanks.